Hello my friends and welcome. This is the latest update from Ukraine. We have more information about the failed Russian attack attempt near to Krinky. Many of the videos were shared on the internet with this convoy ambushment. What I can say that Ukraine mostly used the FPV drones to target the Russian vehicles. So what Russia tried to perform in this region, they advanced from E58 road towards this forest. They wanted to create the bridgehead with reinforcements and later on attack the Ukrainian positions in Krinky. But Ukraine recognized the Russian movement well before and launched the drones from Krinky village itself, also from this territory too, plus artillery backup helped to get rid of the Russian vehicles. Some of the videos which were shared on internet are not okay with this platform policies, but anyways I have the alternate resource where I publish mostly everything. I try to avoid the gore content because why would you like that? But the general stuff I publish over there, also combat footages, so you may find it, I think, very interesting. At least it shows the general picture on the front lines, the actual fight. As it is reported, Russia lost at least 15 of the vehicles, many tanks, armored vehicles. The interesting thing that they didn't engage in direct fight in Krinky village. Their main goal again was just to reposition their vehicles not far away from Krinky for the future assault, but it went unsuccessful. For the Russian army, for Ukraine it was the success, but for Russia it's the biggest disaster for the recent, I think, months or even more. Obviously this situation doesn't give the motivation for the Russian soldiers. So here you may see all of the vehicles from the yesterday's convoy that was ambushed. There were also the supply vehicles, but they're just not included in this photo. We also have some of the videos from the FPV drones. As you can see, Ukraine is using the cluster munitions and later on the drone finds its target. I watched tons of the videos like that. I may say that it's very hard to get away from the FPV drone. It will just fly, it will follow whatever it wants to follow, the vehicle or the particular soldier, and it's very precise. There is almost no way to hide from the FPV drone if it spots the particular target and wants to reach it. Alright, now let's go to the other front lines update. It seems like the situation has improved in some of the areas. For example, in Robotyne over here it was yesterday and it is today. It's been confirmed that Russia wasn't able to reach this road, this part of the road after all. And if we check out the defense lines which previously were liberated by Ukrainian army, well, Russia managed to get the single one under control. This one is still unreachable for them, but they may position their forces using those defense lines again. Well, it is good actually that Russians finally weren't able to reach this place, because there is also the forest line which could be used as the trench. Well, actually the trenches are located over there. In general, the situation over there is hard for Ukraine on the east and on the south. Today General Syrsky, who is in charge of the eastern front lines, told about it in his speech. The General Syrsky is over here. They are monitoring the situation on the front lines, and after the briefing he admitted that Russia concentrated many of the forces for their assault and Ukraine is in lack of the proper resources to withstand the Russian attacks at many of the points of the front lines. Also, some of the good news are coming from the north part of Soledar. So here again Russia wasn't able to get this land under control. After all, the front line is like this. So the Ruzzia village has no direct threat to be occupied in the nearby future. As you can see, for today, at least for this hour, there was no any significant activity reported on the front lines. Just the clarification of the military map. That's it. I still wonder about the Ukrainian assault operation in Stepova, Ukrainian counterattack, which is now ongoing. Whether it is successful or not, probably we're gonna see it with the next military map update. One more result of the FPV drone strike, and this is the Grad rocket artillery system of the Russian Federation. It ballooned a little, looks very interesting. The explosion was from the aft part, and also I think the secondary one was in the front. The vehicle caught fire and was totally demolished. This is the Luhansk region. Russian armored vehicle MT-LB was targeted by the drone. All of the Russians inside survived that, but were severely wounded. And there is the other group of the Russian armed forces not far away from the place, filming what is left from that MT-LB vehicle, just a fire destroying this stuff. Because of the heavy losses, many of the Russians refused to go and fight, but their commanders just locked them in terrible conditions. Sometimes they tightened them to the trees. In this case, commanders just locked their soldiers into the cage. That's it. They're just waiting for them to change their mind to go and fight again. Those are the Russian mobilized soldiers, not the volunteers. So after all that they saw of what is really happening on the front lines, they are not willing to fight any longer. So for the Russian army, it's more preferable to hire volunteers rather than to mobilize more Russian soldiers, because the mobilized soldiers, especially with no military background, are sometimes useless on the front lines. But volunteers, motivated even with money, are way more effective, and the most effective force is obviously Storm Z or the Wagner army, something like that. They have their own statute and they have very strict discipline. If they do not want to fight, they usually got captured by their own command. Here at least Russian commanders lock their soldiers because they're just unable to get rid of them fully. There is even the case now that Russia kidnapped one of their citizens who deserted from the Russian army. They captured this guy in Armenia. Russia has the military base, I think, in Gyumri, so they delivered this guy to their military base and they want to send it back to Russia. So complete violation of the international law. They have absolutely no right to kidnap even their own citizens on a territory of the other country. Hopefully Armenian government would deal with that outlaw act from the Russian side. The Guardian came out with an article about the Prime Minister Orban. I call him the Jabba Hut. So the Orban government will hold the meeting with the United States representatives of the Republican Party. The main goal is to cut supplies, military supplies for Ukraine. So definitely Orban is playing on the Russian side together with some of the Republicans. I believe that not all of the Republicans are supporting the Russian narratives that Ukraine shouldn't be supported, but there is, however, some part of the group that wants to cut all of the military support for Ukraine, and my friends, that will lead probably to the very terrible condition in Ukraine. It seems like those politicians do not understand of what might potentially happen in case Ukraine loses this war. In that case, Russia will not stop. It will continue their offensive on the other countries, including the NATO countries, and in that case, America should, according to the 5th article, deploy their forces in Europe to fight against Russia directly. If we want to avoid it, we need to support Ukraine, but it seems like Orban is completely sold to the Russian Federation. He's just supporting the narratives from the Russian Federation and actually plays a good role in that. Obviously for Russia it is very good. You may find this article on the Guardian website or on my Telegram channel. Again, I publish very interesting information over there for you to check out. Orban believes that America will stop supporting Ukraine, but I think that finally, after all, the military help will be approved by Congress and Ukraine will continue its fight successfully. By the way, we have the news that the European Commission will unblock 10 billion euros for Hungary. So Orban finally gets what he wants, blackmailing most of the countries of the European Union and outside too, like Ukraine. By the way, President Zelensky met with Orban during the ceremony of the inauguration of the Argentinian president, so they spoke talk a little over there, but it wasn't the official meeting. They just shared a couple of the words, probably about the situation with Hungarian support of the Russian peace. Zelensky was really looking hard on Orban. I think it is understandable because Hungarian government is now the big Russian rat in the European Union. Orban says a lot about Ukrainian corruption. Well, actually, me too in my videos. I have the right to do it because I have the Ukrainian passport. But who is Orban to say something about corruption in Ukraine? Because Hungary is seen as a most corrupt country of the European Union, study finds. Those are two of the separate headlines of the same magazine, Politica, that Orban calls Ukraine one of the most corrupt countries in the world, at the same time being in charge of the most corrupt country of the European Union. A sad destiny for the Russian soldier. He was demobilized from the war in Ukraine and returned back to Moldova, but he was really drunk and his bag was really heavy for him to stay at one place, so you may guess what happened to him after all. One more loss for the Russian army. Even after demobilization, vodka helps a lot. The weather condition at some of the points of the front lines, as you can see, even the clothes and equipment of our soldiers gets stuck, gets freezed, and you can barely put any mags from the mag holders. Crazy. Poland delivers to Ukraine some of the Ruzzia vehicles. As I remember, Ukraine ordered around 100 of those. For now, the number of already delivered vehicles is unknown. It's top secret information. This vehicle is quite capable. It carries 120mm gun. I think it's even capable to target and penetrate the tank armor. Our journalists went to the front lines to check out the crew of the Leopard 1A5 tank. As you can see, this tank has some extra armor because it's an A5 modification, and they showed us also what is inside. Inside there are some of the shells. It is the round one of the shells. There are 13 of them, but the storage is located there underneath. So then you used all of the 13 of the shells from the first turn. You need to pause a little to let the soldier go there underneath to put the shells over here, and only after that continue fight. I think that it is a little bit uncomfortable. Also, the shells are located very close to the crew. In the crew compartment there is no specific ammunition compartment as it is on Leopard 2 or Abrams tank or Challenger. Here the ammunition is more or less as in the Soviet tank around the crew, which is not good. Even though they equip with modern type of the aiming equipment modernized for Ukrainian army in A5 modification, but still in general it's the old tank. After the International Olympic Committee let Russians to compete in the future Olympic Games, the Czech journal Reflex came out with those photos of the possible Russian uniform, and I believe that Russians should wear something like that to show their true face in Olympics. If they want to compete, I think it should be one of the demands for the Russians to take part in the games. Yes, the decision of the Olympic Committee is really strange. This video was filmed long time ago but was just released today. It was filmed on a camera of K-52 helicopter, and there is the other K-52 helicopter. They're flying towards Hostomel airport near to Kiev, and let's see what happens. So, as you saw, there was the missile which hit the K-52 helicopter. It was downed, and the crew of the other helicopter was really surprised about the Ukrainian resistance. Definitely, They expected the normal flight with landing of their forces in Gostomel, but something went wrong for them. Okay, it seems like Russian special forces stormed one more gay club or LGBT club, this time in Yekaterinburg, one of the main Russian cities. So they entered the place, they stopped the music and asked everyone to give them their personal data. Otherwise, all of them will be taken to some of the Russian place where they keep their gay prisoners. Yes, I'm joking, but my friends, it's total nonsense of what is happening in Russia. They found the enemy now in LGBT community. I think that their new enemy is even stronger than all of the NATO combined. By each month we're getting closer to elections in the United States, the decisive elections also for Ukraine, for our military support. Recently, the Wall Street Journal came with analytics saying that Trump takes the lead, according to polls, right now by 4% against Biden as the candidate for the next president campaign. But I checked different of the sources, and some say that it's just 1.5% lead and some say around 3%. So where the Wall Street Journal finds those 4%, I'm out of clue. Probably finally, after all, I have to speak about the politics in the United States because they really influence of what is happening in my country, in Ukraine, especially with the military support. I read some of the analytics from the United States and many of them are quite firm in their forecast that Trump has all of the chances to become the president again. But in that case, I really worry about the destiny of Ukraine because Trump openly said that he wants to trade Ukrainian territory for the peace agreement with Russia, but it will not lead to the long-term peace. At the same time, he says that if Russia would not like to negotiate in that case, he would support Ukraine with even more weaponry. So this guy is really hard to predict. As for the Joe Biden, I believe that we'll have the previous vector of support. I would like to see more firm action from the United States under Joe Biden's ruling, because honestly, ATACMS and other stuff was delivered very late. It should have been done before the start of the summer counteroffensive operation of Ukraine. The same goes for F-16s. We all predicted that all of that weaponry is needed for Ukraine and will be supplied. But it was done in a very big and long time window, so Russia had the time to prepare, for example, for the offensive operation of Ukraine, and it will have the time to prepare their air defense for F-16s. So here we may see that we are a little bit flying behind the airplane. It is the term we use to describe the situational awareness. So if you are in a counter, if you understand what is happening right now, you fly in the cockpit. If you think ahead, you fly ahead of the airplane. If you just follow what is happening, you fly behind, as I believe in this case. Also, the Lend-Lease program wasn't really used by the United States of America to support Ukraine because there was the agreement in Congress to support Ukraine with both of the parties. But now we see that this agreement is not valid any longer, and the Lend-Lease law is not the option any longer because it basically expired. It was temporarily taken by the White House, agreed by Congress, but now Biden is unable to use it any longer. What is good in general for the United States is no matter who is the president, still you have the counterpart, for example, Congress or the court, so you have the counterweights in the United States politics, unlike in Russia, where dictator has the full power and that's it. President Biden hasn't yet announced that he will run for the elections, but in one of his speeches he said that he will run for a campaign in case Trump will run for it too. Well, for me personally, it's very hard to predict the results of the future elections. Moreover, it's hard to predict how the future White House administration will continue the cooperation with Ukraine. But in general, I expect the United States to support Ukraine in any case, because it is in interest of the national security of the United States itself. At least according to the logic, it's like that. However, from what we see, Putin placed a bet on the change of the White House administration and the possible future cancellation of the military support of Ukraine. In that case, Putin might be victorious. Well, hopefully it's not gonna happen. By the way, tomorrow President Zelensky is going to the United States of America. He will meet with President Biden to discuss probably the military support of Ukraine. My friends, don't forget to press the like to this video. By doing so, you help me a lot, really. And also, if you want to support my job, you may check out some of the links in the video description just below. Special thanks for my Patreon supporters and the sponsors of my YouTube channel. Guys, you are awesome. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.